You sell because you don't know how to market. You market because you don't know how to build great products. This quote from Naval Ravikant needs to be up there in the Business Hall of Fame. The ultimate goal for any business owner should be to transition from sales and marketing as fast as possible towards product-based selling and brand-based selling. And in this video, I want to dissect the journey that you can take as a B2B service provider, consultant, agency owner, any kind of solopreneur making less than $20,000 a month. A journey that takes you from the starting point of where you're depending on referrals and your network to the point where you can fully focus on your product and brand. My name is Michal Bohanes, and I run a system called the Alpha Lead Academy, where we help B2B consultants build their first client acquisition system so that they can stop depending on referrals. And for full transparency, we are now at the point where about 60% of our yearly revenue depends on sales and marketing, and about 40% comes from product and brand. So we still have a long way to go, but this ratio used to be much worse. And so I want to share the lessons that I've learned on this journey. Now I see referrals and network, sales, marketing, product, and brand as levels in a computer game where you can only unlock the next level if you have cracked the previous level. Because your biggest growth as a business owner will come when you climb to the next level, even if you can survive or even live well at that previous level. It's difficult, but it is the only way to get to 7 figures as a B2B service provider. You start with referrals and your network, then you gradually start selling to strangers on a one-on-one basis. Hey, do you want this? Then you go into marketing where you broadcast your message, your wisdom, everything that you know to a wider audience in the hope that somebody will, respond and book a call with you. And then once you get to the point where you have enough cash that you can focus much more on your product, then you 10x the quality of your product. And then hopefully your product will become so good that people will be so impressed that they get to the point where they are saying, whatever Michal Bohanes releases, I'm going to buy it. That is the point where your brand has become so strong that it does all the selling for you. That's what we are striving towards. So today, let's talk about how we can get there, at least how we can get started on that journey. And for that, let me show you my amazing doodling skills on Miro. All right, so let's take it level by level. This is you here. Let me just show my amazing doodling skills here. And so here at this point, when you are starting out, you are probably going to be depending on referrals and your network, right? And that is a very volatile thing. So, right. So it's like you're going up and down, 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 and so on. And overall, it tends to be viewed over many years. It generally tends to be a up and down curve, but it's kind of sloping towards, trending upwards overall, right? So that's roughly what it looks like. If you had to draw a trend line through it, it would look like, for example, something like this, right? So generally it's trending up, and it's maybe about like you grow 10% year on year. Okay, so that is referrals and network. And a lot of people are at this level. They're like between $0 and $20,000 a month, and they're generally quite happy there, but they don't have any major ambitions to grow beyond that. And generally what people tend to do at this point, if I had to draw like how much time they are spending on different activities, this is where they are. And maybe not at the beginning, but let's say midway down this journey, they usually spend like here, they have like delivery, and the rest is like relatively ineffective marketing activities, some kind of let's build a website, let's engage in some partnerships, hopefully get some referrals. So they're like just some questionable marketing activities that don't really go anywhere. So what I think is much better than engaging in these questionable activities is that you do the following things: that you try to minimize your time as much as you possibly can without compromising service quality, that you minimize the time and push that line downward. Like it goes down, 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 so that you can spend more time, you free up more time to now do this. You start doing the following. At this point, let's say it's an inflection point where you start building sales systems. Okay, so let's call it sales. Okay, I know it requires a bit of creativity to read my Miro handwriting, but that means sales. Let me just correct this L. Okay, so sales. What do I mean by sales? I mean both prospecting and selling. So approaching people one-on-one to inform them about what you do, and that making them an offer to work with you. Okay. Usually this is like 10 to 20% of solopreneurs even do that, right? The majority of B2B consultants, they just stay in this space of between 0 and 20K a month, and they depend on referrals. Very few people start engaging in this activity, sales. And by the way, if you are here at this point and you don't have any business yet, if you don't do anything, then you don't have that line here. You can spend all of your available time doing sales. And that is really what I strongly recommend that you do, that you don't spend time on building a website. I mean, maybe build something, for one day, but don't spend much time building a website, and instead really focus all of your effort on sales. And I don't mean networking with people. But because networking is so pernicious, you meet people, you meet for coffees, and they think, oh, this is how we could potentially work together. It's complicated partnerships arrangement and referral deals. No, you want to get in front of decision makers and directly sell to them, make them an offer so that they work with you and sell to them. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you should not leverage your network. You should absolutely tell everybody that you know to refer you, but I would not spend time, especially in the beginning, try to come up with deals to refer clients to each other and so on. It's just, especially at these early stages, it usually doesn't work. Okay, here you start doing prospecting, cold email, cold DMs on LinkedIn, and here you get to that point, and this is of course a revenue curve. So you have made some revenue using sales, and you get to that point here. By the way, this curve should not be sloping as much upwards. So here we are at the sales curve. You sell to a couple of customers, and let's say you get to this point where you have reliably sold a few customers. Your systems work. The stuff that you have done to get strangers to become clients works. And now you're at this point. What does that mean? You've reached, in my parlance, you've reached level 1. Here, I call this level 0 because you purely depend on the goodwill of others, on referrals from other people. Here you've reached level 1. And at this point, you have a choice. That is what makes it so interesting. You have a choice to continue on this curve, on this growth trajectory. And let's keep it and keep projecting it forward. You will make more than if you were to stay at the referral basis, but also you will grow linearly, right? You will simply add more people, and the client acquisition cost will always be somewhere, right? You're always going to have some client acquisition cost per unique client, because you need to pay those who set the appointments and you need to pay those who close the appointments. Until this point, you've done all the selling yourself. Here you hire people to do it for you. And that's all great. It's wonderful if you have a sales organization. But in terms of leverage, it is the least favorable form of leverage. There's 5 sources of leverage. There's people, you can hire people, you can deploy other people's capital, you can build software products, you can do media so that you become famous and more people know about you. And you can build your skills. Out of those 5 leverage items, people tend to be the least favorable one, because every single additional person that you add increases your complexity. It's not a robot, it's a human. So you need to take them into account as humans, and every single person is unique. So the more people you add, the more complex the business gets. So therefore, here by doing sales, you're just adding people. The organization becomes more complex. You are leveraging systems. You have a form of leverage. And so here at this point, the number one metric that you need to be looking out for is CAC to LTV. CAC stands for client acquisition cost, LTV, lifetime value. So you always need to measure how much does it cost you to acquire a client, and what is that client's customer lifetime value for you. So just as an example, if you are currently making $10,000 a month and you are working 20 hours on delivering to your clients, then your hour is approximately worth $100. And that means that if you spend 25 hours on prospecting and sales, you do a couple of sales calls, you need to approach a few people, and on average, it takes you 25 hours of work to secure a new client. Well, that means that it has cost you $2,500 to secure a client. And let's say the lifetime value is 10,000. In that case, you have a 25% CAC to LTV ratio, which is okay. It's not amazing. Usually you should aim to stay well below 40%. Ideally, ideally 0, but 25 is okay for a high ticket B2B service business. And that number will generally, as you get better at this, probably will decrease, but it's a rule of client acquisition systems, namely that these costs tend to increase over time. Like, people get less responsive to cold email gradually over time. Ads become more expensive. So you have these two countervailing forces. On the one hand, you are getting better, but on the other hand, the system is becoming less and less effective. Tactics become less and less effective. You have to keep renewing your tactics in order to stay current. Okay, so that is the advantage of sales over purely depending on referrals. So here we are at this inflection point where you can choose to just build out those sales systems. However, there is a fork in the road. You can also go here, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, marketing. Okay, now what do I mean with marketing? People have very different definitions of marketing. I define sales as asking someone to become your client directly, where the purpose of the message is, hey, I have this thing, do you want to buy it? And you can do this via cold calling, via cold emailing, via DMing, but that is the purpose. Also ads. I count ads into sales because the main purpose of the ad is to say, hey, watch this, watch this video or read this ad, and then please make a call booking with me. That is sales. Marketing is different. Marketing is simply spreading content, some kind of value, so that people start to build an affinity towards you, so that then later on they book a call with you out of their own volition. This video that I'm doing here is marketing. My purpose here is to inform you, to teach you something, hopefully, to add value to you, so that in case if at some point you need somebody to help you build client acquisition systems, so that you remember and book a call with me or somebody on my team. That is the purpose. But I'm not overtly telling you in this video, hey, book a call with me or my team. I mean, I just did, so it's a bit meta, but obviously that's not the point of this video. The main point of this video is to explain a complex concept. That is marketing. And there's 4 ways in how marketing is superior to sales. So that's really interesting. First of all, you introduce a better form of leverage, right? Remember, at sales, we only have people that we can add. So that's one form of leverage. With marketing, we also add media. Suddenly you can become a little bit famous in your niche. And you are introducing the possibility that maybe one of your marketing assets goes viral. And from one video, let's say, you can book 20 calls and close 7 of them. And if on average per video you are booking, let's say, 1 call with a 10-20% chance of closing, now suddenly you have 20x'd your outcome with just 1 asset. That is not possible in the sales arena. You will not get 1 prospect or 1 salesperson show up one day and suddenly be 20 times more effective. That won't happen. This is the uniqueness of marketing in that it introduces this form of leverage. So that's the first point. The second reason why marketing is superior is because the sales calls you book from marketing are much more likely to convert, right? In our case, our outbound systems overall convert at about 11%, right? Then you have to add, of course, people who come on calls who tend to not be qualified. So if you just remove those, then maybe our conversion rate is 20-25%. So overall, this results in, measured based on all calls, 11%. With marketing, that number is close to 30%. So we have an almost triple the conversion rate with people who have seen our stuff. And that makes, of course, a lot of sense. When people already know you, they have an affinity with you, they've been following you for a while, well, then you have a much higher chance of converting them than if they're a complete stranger to you. The third reason is that on average, marketing clients or marketing originated clients have a better CAC to LTV ratio. That is mainly because you did not have to prospect them in order to book a call with them. And so you can remove that fee. Now, of course, granted, in the beginning, your CAC to LTV ratio on inbound clients, on marketing clients, is going to be considerably higher because it takes a while to get let's say, a YouTube channel going. But the longer you go, the more you push through, the lower CAC to LTV becomes. Here, CAC to LTV stays pretty much the same, is pretty linear, or could even become more expensive, become worse over time. With marketing, CAC to LTV becomes better over time. And the fourth reason, finally, why marketing is superior to sales is because you're building an asset. Here, if you, at this point, for example, if you stopped doing sales, what would happen to your revenue here? It just goes down. It just would be 0 the next day if you stop it. With marketing, it would maybe not grow linearly. We would not grow as fast as this curve shows, but it would just taper off, and at some point it would start falling down, but it would not fall off because with marketing, you have an asset. These videos will get watched over and over if they're any good. So you are at this fork in the road and you have to decide whether you add marketing into the mix or whether you continue with just selling. And here's the kicker. This is why this gets more and more complicated the higher you climb, right? So at this point, your time, when you're at this juncture, your time is about like somewhere in this area. You have delivery, client delivery, and then you do sales. And so your goal is to free up some of your time by pushing these 2 activities downward, so that you have some time to dedicate to marketing. What does that mean? That means you have to delegate some of your delivery work to others. You either have to hire fully fledged consultants who can simply deliver to clients on your behalf, or you can simply farm out individual tasks to virtual assistants or anybody who can help you just do some of the grunt work that it means to deliver for clients. Similarly, with sales, you start hiring a prospect, and maybe you even start hiring a closer if you can afford it. And so the sales process decreases in work hour volume. And so that's why the goal, once you're at this point, is to get to this level where ideally you're only spending time on admin. So here would be delivering, but high level delivering. Here you spend time on sales because you still have to manage the sales team. And here you will have now time with marketing. Right? You can spend time on marketing. That is the goal. This transition you absolutely have to make. And this is what most people struggle with. Whenever I have people who are, let's say, even at this level, They think I'm so busy with all the kind of stuff. But if we do a time audit where we see, okay, what are you actually busy with? First of all, are you working 60 hours a week? If not, then forget it. You just don't even have to start this journey, right? You have to work 60 hours a week. Once you're working 60 hours, well, what are you filling those 60 hours with? And then let's identify some of those activities that might not be as useful. Like you going to networking events might not be as useful as building sophisticated sales systems. So let us clear up your calendar. Let's squeeze down that time that you're currently spending on various tasks and free up some of your time so that you can spend time on sales. Similarly here on marketing. And the higher you go, the more complicated it gets. Now you suddenly have to delegate. You have to create software automations that remove some of your time spent on stuff, so this is not easy. But anyway, let's now say that we are here on this marketing journey. So you get to now the next inflection point. And so you get to this level, you get to this inflection point when your marketing is such that it brings you clients and you are in a place where you can delegate some of the marketing related tasks. Like, for example, somebody managing your content, somebody taking your video and editing it, somebody taking your video and creating a newsletter off of it, somebody creating your podcast and creating all the relevant assets together with it, right? That is this inflection point where you can decide, okay, what is next? You see the pattern, right? Every time you advance from one system to the next, from referrals to sales and marketing, it's a time of organizing your time, delegating some of the activities that you don't have to do yourself, and focusing as much as you can of learning that new thing, learning sales and then learning marketing. By the way, you cannot swap these around. I strongly recommend against doing marketing before you do sales, because if you don't know how to do sales, you don't really know what your audience cares about. You think you do because you've seen other influencers in your space to post content, but it's a very, very long slog before marketing delivers clients to you if you have not done sales before. So that's why super recommended that you start with sales and only then do marketing. But so you see the pattern. And also it means that you cannot outsource this. Every single time you advance to the next stage, this part here, this little part here where you grow, you have to build this yourself. You cannot outsource this. Yes, you of course can get an agency maybe to help you out with some task or other, but you have to be in the driver's seat of these things. Similarly to here, you have to do this yourself. You cannot rely on somebody else. Get a coach, get an agency to maybe do a couple of things for you, but you have to control it. All right. Now at this point, you are making money from your marketing, from your sales, and you're still getting some referrals, and your network is also referring you. By the way, this curve is going to go upward once you start doing marketing, because more people will see you. They will remember you. Oh, it was Michael from back then in the days when we were working together at company XYZ. Oh, he does that now. Oh, let me refer my friend to him, right? That's going to happen here. So this is an ancillary benefit of marketing. So at this level, you now have, again, the opportunity. You're now facing the decision where you're just going to continue with marketing, which is what would go like this, or you start truly focusing on something else. And that is, product. With product, you need to aim for and you have to become the best in your niche. That's why it is so difficult, right? You need to become the best one in the market so that you have a chance to win with product. Because if you really build the best product in the market, even if it's just for temporary, like for 1 or 2 or 3 years, that is going to truly get you in through the stratosphere. Because if you start focusing on product, which means, again, you have to be super efficient. You have to press all of those things down. Now your time is spent between marketing, sales, and delivery. You have to squeeze those things down so that you find time to produce. So that you find the time to focus on product. At this point, ideally, you would want to hire somebody who can run BizDev for you. Ideally, at this point, you're making, let's say, $1 million or $2 million a year. You ideally would want to then hire somebody to run delivery for you as well as run sales and marketing for you. You can become like the elder statesman who then focuses on the product exclusively. And so let's think, what are we adding here? We are adding the third leverage item here. Remember, here at sales, we started to add people as the leverage item. Here in marketing, we are adding media. And here in product, we are adding either, let's say, software, right? If your product is a software product, or we are adding skill. Skill is also a leverage item, of course, which, by the way, Naval Ravikant is not listing it. And I think that's an omission. I do think that there's not 4 sources of leverage, but 5. Skill is another one. And product is akin to skill. If you truly become the best in the world at something, this is going to produce outsized returns. Like, this is what gets the Michelin starred restaurants, right? You can be, if you continue here on the marketing side, you can continue being a very good, respectable local restaurant that gets their patrons, is always full, that is very successful, but they still have to put effort into sales and marketing. I don't know how they do sales, but marketing for sure. But if you are really like the best in the world, if you're the fat duck in the UK, you don't have to do any marketing. Then this is the saying in the Matrix where you don't have to even dodge bullets anymore. You exit the Matrix because you just do what you love, and the product is so good that you don't need to do any sales and marketing. This is the place where Tesla is. Tesla has never spent a single dollar on marketing. I mean, they still have to have some shops, I guess, somewhere. I mean, they still sell their cars in stores, so they have some cost associated with that, but they don't do any marketing. That is because product, and as we will discuss, Elon Musk's brand, which comes as the next inflection point, they do all the selling for them. They don't obey the laws of the market anymore, other than they have to produce a truly outstanding product, but they can forget about everything below here. They don't have to do any sales or any marketing. Granted, I'm sure that Tesla would make even more if they ran ads, and I'm sure that at some point they will start running ads, but for now, they've become probably, I think, the world's most valuable car brand, purely based on the product and the personal brand of Elon Musk, which is unbelievable. So this is the power of product. One thing we also have to add here is that following on this growth curve, if I just make this red, if you follow this growth curve, you go here in sales and you go up in marketing and then you go up in product, to follow this growth curve is a lot of effort. If you, for example, were to say, I'm just going to continue here the sales path, like the original sales curve, there will come a point where here, for example, you can just work 30, 40 hours a week. This stuff works. Your systems are dialed in. Just like here, at some point when you are on the marketing track, you will also be able to take a little bit of time off and work 40 hours a week. But if you continue on this growth curve, you will always be working 60, 80, 100 hours. Elon Musk worked 100 hours. This is one of the reasons why Tesla has become such an amazing brand that only relies on product and the founder's brand, because you still have to constantly, obsessively tinker with everything and constantly improve. It's just like with athletes, right? If you want to shave the last millisecond of your 100-meter run, you have to be so obsessive about it and continue working crazy hours so that you get to that point, right? You will not get to world class if you don't work completely crazy hours. Okay, so how does now brand fit into all of this? Let's say we are here now with a product where product has done a significant amount of contribution towards the overall revenue. Here comes the point where if you just followed product through, it would go like this, but brand actually then does this. And what does brand do? Brand, it's effectively personal brand. The goal here is to say that this company or this personal brand is so good that I'm going to buy anything that they release. This is the kind of business nirvana that pretty much everybody wants to get to. I want people to say, Michael Bohanes, his stuff is so good, I'm going to buy anything that he releases. That is the goal of brand. And here you can, again, while you're at a product, you can remain at product level, you can remain a one product company, and of course, these things are not super precise. You can still have amazing personal brand that people will just buy based because they want to work with you, and you will only continue having one product. Of course, it's possible, but the more of brand you introduce, the more opportunities you get then to sell all kinds of products because people will simply buy you. So how do you build a brand in the B2B marketplace? It's effectively everything that you do, every single one of your public utterances, who you associate with, whose podcast you go on, what is your behavior? Do you engage in comment wars with other people and so on? All of that becomes your brand, which is why it's a good reminder not to be an idiot online. So overall, the main point of this video is that you ideally want to get to this point, where you can focus on the product as fast as possible. Use sales and marketing as vehicles to get to the point where you can apply extreme focus to the product and potentially, if you want to, then abandon sales and marketing because your product will do most of the selling for you. Especially what you will then be able to do, which is one of the things that most people then struggle with at some point, is to maintain this whole sales team of prospectors and salespeople because it adds a lot of friction and complexity, and some people just want to have an easy life. Now, granted, you will make less money, of course, if you don't have a sales and marketing team. So you ideally want to keep it up. If you want to, grow into 10 million plus, But if you want to just have 1, 2, 3 million a year and you have an amazing, outstanding product and it's just you, this is the point where you want to get to. What about skipping sales and marketing and going directly into product and brand? Is that even possible? Is it advisable? So yes, in theory, but the world is a little bit more complicated than that. There are two risks that you fall into if you start focusing on the product right away without going through sales and marketing as a process. And the first risk is that you will produce something that nobody wants to buy because, against what you believe, you don't know enough about your market. Now, if you have worked in an industry and you have served clients in the industry, that is great. It does not make you knowledgeable enough that you know how to sell to that industry. And that is a huge risk because not knowing how you sell to that industry means you do not know what makes people change providers. Why should somebody who has been with your company, with your employer before, why should they now join you? Are there many strong switching costs that you might not have considered? All of these are things that you need to know as a salesperson, as a marketer, because you could actually build a better mousetrap. But if the switching costs for customers to abandon that old mousetrap and buy yours are too high, you could have the best mousetrap in the world. People will not make the switch. So that is why it's so important to be able to sell and market to your target audience before you focus on the product like 100%. For ideally, you want to get version 1 of the product out. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be the best in the world, but you get some clients. And then you see what are the selling points, what are the reasons, what are the USPs that you can offer to your market, adjust that, tweak that, and become gradually better at serving your clients. Because if you don't do that, you really are facing the risk of building something that people will not want or that they will not switch into. That's why it's much better to actually take some detour through sales and marketing land. Because the other risk is that if you don't do that, if you keep beating your head against the wall, trying to focus on the product, you might actually run out of money. So if you combine these two risks of running out of money and then building something that nobody wants, you are looking at 90% of the reasons why most B2B solopreneurs, B2B service providers fail. Building without enough market input on the sales and marketing side is a big risk, and I recommend against it.